afternoon to another session of Table Talks here at Shepherd's Heart, where we bring in members of the community and have conversation over the table. I have with me this afternoon Justin Doro of Leap Development. It's great to have you, Justin.
Thanks for having me here.
So tell me, what is Leap Development?
Yeah, great question. You know, it's funny. Sometimes people think we're a real estate development company, which couldn't be further from the truth. So we do leader, talent, organizational development for small to medium-sized businesses. So anything from executive coaching to helping people in the hiring process, as well as onboarding, developing employees. And then for certain size businesses, typically on the smaller end, doing some organizational development. So helping them with their core principles, vision, mission, values, and then layers of planning, long-term, mid-term, short-term. And just how do you embed a culture of accountability into an organization so that you can get the results that you have vision for.
Well, that's a full week's worth of content that you just unloaded there.
That's right. That's
At
right.
least.
Yes.
And, but yet, your passion is to see companies succeed.
That's right. Yeah, at the end of the day, you know, my background, I was in ministry for 10 years as a pastor, and then I directed a training school. And in that process, just seeing the opportunity for people to grow and develop just became something that I really found joy and interest in. My business partner, very similar in terms of his interests. We have similar backgrounds. He worked in ministry as well, more on the nonprofit executive director level. In addition to that, we've both worked in business prior to those experiences. And I think we were just really motivated to how do we help leaders equip them with tools and ways of developing their people, aligning their teams to achieve the results that team really has vision and passion for, and really creating a meaningful work environment where people feel like when they show up to work that their contribution really matters.
And that's important. And oftentimes, and I think you shared this with me, and it's one of the things that it excited me the most is that oftentimes we have the right people. It's just one, either understanding how they work.
Right.
And seeing their full potential released.
That's right.
Or maybe they're doing the wrong job.
Correct.
The right person doing the wrong job.
That's right.
Give me a success testimony.
Yeah, so an example that immediately comes to mind, we have a client based in Florida. The guy who's the owner of the business, he's been a career entrepreneur. Prior to that, he had been actually in corporate banking, but then he owned, I think it was 43 pet stores across the country, had business partners, very large operation, sold it. And then in the process, he ended up starting a new business. And what we were helping him with was he has a health food store based in Florida that is connected to this kind of health coaching business that he has. And he had a particular person on his team that just felt like square peg, round hole. We're just missing each other. And one of the things that we identified is my particular client, big picture thinker, entrepreneurial, motivated by someone giving him a big goal and then getting out of his way. Whereas this guy was actually more motivated by structure, detail, clarity, specificity. And what he realized is I'm leading him in a way that fits me, not in a way that fits him. So what he transitioned to is I need to give this guy detailed instructions that's translating the vision into a step-by-step kind of path. And since that conversation that we had over Zoom and he started to implement, he's starting to see the results that he had hoped for, but he just had to change his approach. So that's often what we'll find is most leaders lead others the way they want to be led. But the reality is we're not all the same. And so if we can customize how we lead the people on our team based on what they need, then we can be more effective. And we use tools that kind of help get at that.
That starts with knowing that you're different, right?
That's right.
And that's a people issue.
That's right.
So you're in the people business.
That's right. That's
good.
right. And it's funny, even some of the, we have some construction service clients that we serve. And that's a statement they make often is, yeah, we're in construction, but ultimately we're in the people business. Because if I can't communicate effectively with the people on my team, then the things that we need to do aren't going to get done because we've missed each other.
And one of the first times we sat down, you took me through a questionnaire and blew my mind. Is that something you can talk about here, or just kind of highlight?
Yeah, so we
One
use
of the tools that you use.
That's right. We use a tool called the Predictive Index, and really what it is, it's a behavioral assessment. What's unique about it is the way the information's captured. So it's only 2 questions, and every time we tell somebody that or they first get it, usually skepticism is rather high. Though it's only 2 questions on the outside, there's a lot of data and detail underneath the software and the system. And what it basically measures is 4 key drives that primarily show up at work: a drive to influence people, a drive for interaction with others, a drive for stability in terms of how you approach your work and work pace, and then a drive for structure and detail. And so based on the results of that, then we can help the person or the employer understand really what's going to motivate that person. And if it's on a hiring level, we can target, who do you need? What do you actually need in this role? And then we can measure candidates against that target. If it's an existing employee, like you mentioned, sometimes you have a square peg in a round hole, and it's not that they're a bad employee, you've just put them in the wrong position. And so can we either rework the role or look across the organization and find a spot that actually they might be a better fit for and refit them into a new role? And then the final piece is just when you understand what makes your employees tick, then you can, in other words, if someone is motivated by understanding what's the big picture we're going for, and then how does my role fit into that, then we can coach that leader to cast that vision, help connect those dots, and chart a path for that employee to have a career path that's meaningful. Because maybe they're at the entry level of the organization, and it's a lot of detail work. It's a lot of entry level type work. But if you can give them a vision of what the future could look like, you could really motivate and engage that employee through that early career development into that manager leader kind of role down the road. But if you don't know, you could lose a great employee too quickly because they were looking for a bigger leadership opportunity and didn't realize what the path might look like in your organization. So those are a few ways that we kind of help use that tool with our clients.
Wow, that sounds like a great tool to use for, say, a nonprofit like Shepherd's Heart.
Absolutely.
And reaching the community.
Absolutely. In fact, we have nonprofit clients that we do work with using that tool. And what's been interesting is some of the feedback we've received in some of those settings is people asking the question, how did you know to ask that question in the interview process? And it's not because we're magicians. It's just the tool's based on a lot of research, a lot of science, a lot of years. And the system will generate questions for hiring managers to know what to ask. And then start to look at what are the types of roles in this particular nonprofit. They service homeless youth. And we started to look at what types of roles are needed, and then who do you have on the bench, and let's make sure they're in the right spot. Or if there's a particular task on that person's plate, how do we reorganize that so that they're not doing something that's constantly draining them, but actually doing things that are energizing?
Yeah, that's exciting. Because you go from being overwhelmed
That's right.
with a lot. And I love what you said a while ago about, and to go back to the method, that there's just 2 questions asked, but underneath those 2 questions is a whole case
That's right.
of information.
That's right.
Sounds like people.
That's right. Exactly.
You know, I can sit here and I can say, hi, my name is Howard Jackson. I've told you 1 piece of information or 2 names.
Right.
And underneath that, there's a whole history.
That's right.
That makes up who I am.
That's right.
And I think that's really, really awesome to be able to reach into the heart of someone and pull out their strengths.
That's right. That's right. And at times, like, we'll have employees say things like, I don't want this to be used against me. And our heart is, that's not how we're trying to train and develop our clients to use this information. It's actually to help managers and leaders lead their people in a way that's congruent with who they are versus trying to make them fit a certain mold that may not have ever fit them, let alone in this particular season of time.
What a novel idea. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. Treat people like they need to be treated.
Treat people the way they need to be treated. But and it's probably actually the opposite effect. Someone comes in intimidated, I don't want this used against me, when in fact what they're saying is actually going to be used for
That's
them.
right. That's exactly right. And, I think it creates a meaningful work environment when you experience employers using this information to make your employment experience even better and to make your role fit even better and to help that team understand one another. Because sometimes we'll be asked, well, are there certain profiles that should fit in certain, this is a sales type and this is a, account manager type or an operations director? And the answer is no, because it depends on the size of the organization, depends on the industry, it might even depend on the market. If it's a big market that is really fast moving, you might need a certain type of person. If it's a more rural market that needs more of a methodical approach. So really, the application is very customizable. What it really does take is some honesty and some transparency in terms of how the organization operates.
Again, how novel is that? Relationships built healthy because you're listening and you're telling the truth.
That's exactly right. And, we use all of it in our small team. We're not a very large team. We have 3 people day to day, a few that are contractors with us outside of that. But we use this information in how we run our team meetings, how we build roles, how we manage, coach, give each other feedback, those types of things, because we want to actually live out the things that we're servicing our clients with.
Which I think is also awesome. From a conversation you and I had before, you were in ministry, you're a pastor.
That's right.
You're still pastoring people,
That's right.
but from a different.
That's right.
From a different venue.
That's right. Yeah, and in a lot of ways, what motivated us to take on this type of work is really the work that often you run across in ministry. It's people work. It's helping people discover their purpose and move forward in life. And we're just using maybe some different language at times in terms of business vernacular, and then some different tools that we're utilizing to help our clients do that. And in a lot of ways, we really want to help our clients develop acumen so that they don't need us every step of the way, that we're there if they need it, but ultimately that we can invest in them in such a way that they can become the experts in their own business in the particular things that we help service our clients with.
So that makes your success even bigger when a business succeeds.
That's right.
That's bigger, then their success is bigger than their productivity.
That's right.
It begins to affect
everything.
The whole community.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And then one of the things we're kind of experimenting with is how can our clients use these tools in serving their customers? Now, in certain businesses, that may not be effective. Like at a restaurant, you can't run an instrument on somebody. But if it's a business-to-business environment, and you can use that information to better serve your clients, there's a real opportunity for them to create more custom fits in terms of how they deliver their products and services.
At the same time, the principles that operate in your business will help any kind of business.
Absolutely.
Because you're bringing the best out of people.
That's exactly right. And even on the organizational development side, creating clarity on a team or an organization. There's an author that a lot of people are reading these days named Brené Brown. One of her statements is clarity is kindness. And I think that's what we have found is when we create clarity in terms of expectations and tasks and deliverables, and we're not constantly moving the goalposts, people feel like they can show up to work and contribute, and they know what's expected, and they do it, and there's fulfillment or meaning that's created in that experience. And that creates commitment, and that creates a sense of camaraderie among that team that people want to show up to work.
Another word for that is value.
That's right. That's exactly right. And anytime value is increased, not only to be a part of that company or whatever you're delivering to your client or your customer, I think everybody wins.
That's one of the things we try to do here also at Shepherd's Heart is not just throw food at a hungry problem, but to see people, hear their hearts, hear where they are, and meet them not at their need, but with provision, with the provision of the resource that's here.
Right.
Often resource is closer than maybe even the need.
Right.
You just don't know it.
Right.
Case in point of the square peg and round hole.
Right.
Man, I've got a perfect round hole over here if I only had a round peg.
Exactly.
Hey, look, I got one.
Exactly.
And so the same thing. We live in a very generous community.
Right.
And to be able to help bring that generosity to a need changes the environment. It doesn't just feed a hungry mouth. It changes the environment so that there's fulfillment.
Right.
That was a key word I think you said.
Right. Yeah, I think people are designed to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
And whether it's food, a meal, a relationship, a good fit in a job that pays a fair wage and that creates meaning, that sense of fulfillment creates a sense of health and well-being in a person.
And the thing I hear you say is that it's not just this one part. It touches all parts.
Everything.
And
That's
when
right.
all parts are being touched, that's when fulfillment really happens.
That's exactly right.
We're not segmented.
That's right. No, we're a whole person.
And just like the two questions unlocks the whole, as we unlock the whole, then the whole becomes more whole.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And it's interesting, like in some of the coaching we do, really the real power of change is found in the stories that we tell ourselves. And so if you have ways to kind of help unlock those narratives and help people see what tends to fill up their imagination when they think of certain contexts or certain relationships or certain opportunities, and if there's a story from the past that brought pain and difficulty, well, if you can kind of help them learn how to rewrite those narratives through new actions that they can take to get more information, you can unlock their potential at a whole nother level that really does create a sense of transformation and change.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm a businessman and I want to get in touch with you.
Yep.
How do I reach Leap Development? How do I reach Justin Duro?
Yep. So a couple things. We have a website, leap-development.com. You can reach me via email, justin@leap-development.com. And you can say, hey, saw you on the show with Howard. Would love to connect, hear more. We do a lot of free demo work with a lot of the tools that we work with, so people can kind of see it in their own environment before they make any kind of decision. And you know me, Howard, I'm not gonna push anybody in a direction. What we wanna do is give people information so that they can make a decision they feel good about. And if now's not the right time, we understand. We'd love to help if we can. So that's how you get in contact with us.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Justin, I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me on.
Really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. It's a lot of fun.
All right.
Okay. Thanks, Howard.